All right.
One
Okay.
tank of ethanol fuel through it.
No,
All
All
right, we will,
He had somebody work for him.
all right, we will get going here at 6:01. Sorry for the little delay.
Hold up here. It's yeah, having camera issues.
There we go.
Why isn't it showing?
Because we don't have a camera up there.
Yeah, we don't. It's broken. There we go.
So then, yeah, so that's what I have to do. All right. There we go. Oop. All right, that's probably good enough, huh?
Mhm.
All right. So we will call the meeting to order at 6:02. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Bruce, a second by Arvid. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have approval of minutes. Regular meeting dated August 8th, 2023.
I'll move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Neil, a second by Brad. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have public input and idea limit 5 minutes per speaker. If we don't have anyone else, I have a note here from Kyle Weaver. I'll read, he isn't able to make it. So he says, Osceola Village Board trustees, police department, village staff, and others, on behalf of both Osceola Wheels and Wings and the Osceola Lions Club, I would like to just say a very quick thank you to all for your part in a safe, successful, and wonderful Osceola Community Fair and Wheels and Wings weekend. It takes a village, as the saying so accurately goes. Thousands of people visited our town, and while things never run completely perfect, we should all be extremely proud of what we accomplished together last weekend. I know sometimes your jobs are quite thankless, so I say again, with all sincerity, thank you all so much for your service. Regards, Kyle Weaver, Osceola Lion Club President, Osceola Wheels and Wings Secretary Treasurer, and Village Resident.
Cool.
Yes. All right, so. All right. Throw us your
Everybody,
Nice.
name
Scott
and
Tinney from East Farmington, president of Osceola Fair. Same thing with the Lions. I want to thank everybody for the police department, the public works, everyone that helped us out too. It was a heck of a weekend.
That was a great weekend.
Couldn't ask for anything better. Being we're moving on now with our building, so now we're gonna start forming a committee to get that going. We already got a few people involved. We've had some more money donated. I'm just asking for if there's any ideas out there, who to go for, or money-wise, or grants, or anything that you guys can help us out with for ideas, or kind of what we're looking forward to next, and if we can get on the next month's meeting, because I'm gonna keep on this every month, so we are gonna do it in the spring, so next year is our 100th year, so.
Yeah.
And we got bands booked, we got everything booked, so I would appreciate a little insight, a little help from everybody if we could.
Believe me, we're hunting for money too, so
I
if we
know.
come across anything we can use,
Yep,
we'll pass it along.
I'll spread it out. So, if not anything else, I gotta go finish at the fairgrounds, so thank you guys, thank everybody, everyone that helped us out this weekend, it was a great time.
It was.
Yep, thank you.
Super.
Thanks,
Thank
Scott.
you.
All right, any other public input? All right, seeing none, we will move on to reports, starting off with library.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shelby.
I feel so special getting to go first tonight, especially because, as you likely know, this will be my last meeting that I am coming and reporting to you guys.
See, it took leaving to get first.
Yes, that must be it. Yeah, you guys don't know this, but that's why I'm leaving. I was last on these reports a couple times now. So I have accepted a new position at the Rice Lake Public Library as the Public Services Director there. So a pretty big departure from what I'm doing now, but really excited about the change. I'll be a little bit closer to home. So I'm looking forward to that. I am sad to go, but I am so proud to say that I worked with all of you and with the library board members and the library staff and all the department heads here. I feel like I've, made some really good connections with everyone, and I'll be sad to go, but I appreciate all of your support and your kindness these last 4 years. So down to business, this last month I have been working to prepare the library for my leave. So I'm getting the budget together. So hopefully for the library board, that's pretty much solidly in place, and then they can make the small changes that they need to as we go through the rest of the year. Putting together a binder with all the relevant information for our interim director, Ann Miller, who will be reporting to you for an indefinite amount of time. I don't know. But yeah, I think that I'm very confident with the staff that is at the library and keeping things going, and whoever the new director is, being able to get them up to speed right away, and hopefully it picking up right where I left off.
Cool.
Yeah, as far as circulation goes last month, so we're at 4,500, which is a little lower, right, than that 5,000 mark that I like to hit, but I'm still feeling really good about even being there for we're still recovering even now from the hit that we took during COVID, just like everyone else. Public computer uses are up. We had 265 uses last month. Ebook checkouts are still around 1,000, and we had 21 new patrons.
Wow.
As far as new items go, we received 229 items. You'll be seeing, I think, lots of large amounts here in the next few months because we have started to order for that LTC grant. So we started to order those large print books, those audio books. So that's going to increase our number of typical new items. For participation, our book bike events have continued to be a really big hit. We've been going to the farmers market, and Deb has been helping us with that, as well as to Evergreen, the senior living facility down the road.
Oh, good.
People have just been so appreciative and so excited about the bike, so it's really cool and really encouraging. We also, as I mentioned last month, had some upgrades to our children's area, and that has kept the library a very busy place this last month. Lots of little kids coming in and checking out the new play stuff and having a good time. As far as facilities and staff go, if you weren't aware, our youth service librarian Rebecca is also going to be leaving us this month. So I would say that despite all these big changes that are happening at the library, the staff has been so flexible with their schedules and willing to take on new job duties to cover for these gaps that Rebecca and I are going to leave. But I'm just really impressed with how everyone has been, ready to step up to the plate and cover for the foreseeable future, I guess. And I think that this really proves how passionate our staff members are and how deeply they care about the library and Osceola as a whole. We have a really great staff here that I would encourage, whoever fills in for me and whoever is up here and on the library board to always support that staff. Lots of libraries see big turnover in their part-time staff, but our library is rare in that we've found people that really care and really care about Osceola. Yeah.
Cool.
So with that said, thank you so much again for all of your kindness and your support. My last day will technically be on September 22nd, and I think we're having cake that day. So if you guys want to stop by the library, you can do that. But I'll be around the week after too, just to kind of fill in where needed. And I don't start in Rice Lake until October 2nd, so I'll still be around for a little bit longer. And yeah.
What does the public services director do?
So I'll be doing, I'll be overseeing all of the programming and the outreach in Rice Lake. So I'm shifting a little bit away from administration and more towards like community services.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Bigger library, you know, kind of getting my foot in the door and something a little bigger and seeing how that goes.
Closer to home too,
Yeah.
that strikes.
Yeah, not much closer, but a little bit closer, and yeah, it'll make a difference with little kids. You know, 10 minutes is a lot. So
Yeah. Could be the
Yeah.
difference between disaster and fine.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, Shelby, I just want to thank you on behalf of myself and the board too. You were the perfect person at the perfect time. You brought a good stability coming into the new building and everything, but then also did a lot of stuff to keep us moving forward, progressive different ideas and everything. Fully believe that you'll be leaving us with great instructions and in very capable hands with Ann. Very happy to have Ann as the interim, but we will miss you. But I know that you have left the library and the staff in good shape to keep carrying on. So a big
Thank you.
a big thank you.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any questions? Okay. Well, I guess we'll see you later.
Sayonara.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shelby.
All right. Thank you.
Best wishes.
All right, next up we have Fire and Paul.
Howdy, everyone.
Hi.
Please don't tell us you're leaving. I'm kidding. Just kidding. That's gonna be the theme the rest of the way. You're not leaving, you're not leaving.
Yeah, we're not accepting resignations the rest of the year. Sorry.
Stop loss.
Last month, no, after last month, I don't know, I should retire. Last month, we had a busy month, we had 22 runs total. 15 were in the village of Osceola, 5 were in the town of Farmington, 1 mutual aid with Dresser and 1 mutual aid with Alden. Run breakdown is, we had 5 alarms, we had 2 motor vehicle accidents, 9 medical lift assists, 2 rescues, 1 structure fire with Dresser, 1 structure fire with Alden, 1 airport standby, and 1 power line down. And what a coincidence, we were doing the foam training for the air show, just in case we had an airplane crash. And the night that we did that night we had an airplane call in through Minneapolis and tell us that his landing gear wasn't going down. So he came into Osceola and they paged us, but it did go down. It was just a bad switch. So
Oh,
we could see it. But it was quite a coincidence. Other than that, we're just going to be applying for another FFP grant. It's through the DNR. It's a 50-50 grant just for some qualifying items like foam and that. Other than that, the We Energies Foundation, we did get turned down on that one. So, but I guess any questions? That's all we have for this month. So,
Thanks for the help this weekend.
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you,
yeah,
Paul.
good job.
All right, building inspection.
Kind of a quiet month in the building inspection front, no new builds, just some remodels and some electrical work.
Decent fee that came in on one of them, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$2,300.
Well, is that addition on him there?
Yep, that was a nice one.
Yeah. That'll help.
Hopefully have another big one here in a few months.
Cool.
All right, administration.
Working together with Carrie and Tanya and me, working on the budget, getting our revenues where they need to be. This week's kind of an odds and ends of the week. We keep meeting every week to discuss where we're at with certain items. Really, that's really all we do in the office. There's about 20 things we're doing and trying to keep top of it all. To no fault of the staff, we should be having a presentation on the audit next month. We finally have a meeting with the auditor on Thursday to discuss the final walkthrough of the audit. So that is one thing that if you would like them to come here, your presentation, I can arrange that for you.
If they want to, great. If they want to do it remote, that'd
Well, I
be
mean,
great. I
Here
mean,
or
either
remote,
way,
but if
yeah.
you want a presentation of the audit, if you think that'd be useful, I know
I think,
admin
yeah.
finance we met already in August, was it July or August to discuss.
Yeah.
To discuss where that was at.
I think it'd be good.
Yeah, in
Always
terms-
good to hear.
In terms of the audit, nothing you guys don't already know. There was no significant findings, just small stuff. There's been no real recommendations in the audit yet. But nothing that was standing out or something that we should be looking for.
That's what I want to hear from an audit.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
No news.
other than
Yep.
our operating funds are low, but we know that already.
Yeah.
All right, police. Hey, Ron.
Kind of my favorite time of year because traditionally our busy summers, in the rearview mirror, I wouldn't say behind us. Initial budget part on our part is done and given to administration, and our busiest weekend of the year as a community is now behind us, so. Gave for that.
Take a breath.
All right, August 2nd, we participated in National Night Out. Over the years, we've tried to do that, and we've put out flyers, and we've asked people to register, and we've gone to events with fire and EMS, and that was met with just okay success. There's always just 2 or 3 events, but the last couple of years, some local residents have planned an outing at the Trinity Lutheran Church. It's not denominational, but it's held there because they have a playground, a big parking lot, grill, food, and it's been a really nice event. And this year was no different. We had a little rain forecast didn't come in, so a lot of the events, at least the eating portion, was moved inside. Kids still played in the rain outside. We were there with EMS, and it was actually a good event again. So I want to thank Trinity and all the people who put that together for us. We had the Shop with the Cop back to school event again. That was fun. Once again, like I said, those of you who've been on the board know how much I enjoy these events. You never know who you're going to be shopping with, whether it's a 5-year-old or a 14-year-old. That's always an adventure. Fun.
Yeah.
Our full-time candidates, like I said, we had 3 applicants. 1 was not qualified. 2 other ones we backgrounded. And just for the sake of this meeting, the candidates that we backgrounded are withdrawing from the hiring process. Something I won't go into, but sometimes if a candidate's not ideal, we have a conversation with them and just say maybe not at this point for this time. So they usually withdraw. We did get another application in and some other interest. So like I've kind of explained to our officers, we're going to hold off for the right fit for our community and for our department. Just take our time and do it right.
Yep.
So we did our last storm siren test of the year, all season long. The police department and the village crew staff would watch all 3 towers the first Wednesday of the month at 1:30, and we saw them diligently. And thanks to the maintenance plan that the village has vested in every year, we pay an annual contract fee. They come out in late spring and check on them, replace batteries, check for woodpeckers, make sure poles are good, things like that. And they work great. I still recommend that, I've mentioned this before, but that a tower be budgeted for down the road for downtown.
Yeah.
At some location, at some point, maybe in the capital. And then it's that time of year again, we're going to wind up our community coffee events. It'll kick off next month in October, the 20th and 27th. It'll always be the last 2 Fridays of the month from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. So
Super.
hope to see you there.
Yeah.
Any questions at all? All right, thank you.
Thanks
for your help.
Thanks again.
Work,
Yep.
Rod.
Public Works.
Evening, everybody.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah, successful weekend. Couple minor hiccups, sprinkler, hog tank. That's easy day. Easy day. Unfortunately, wasn't here this year. For sure, missed it. But for us as a department, it's always the 2-3 weeks leading up to it, in order for it to be a success on our behalf. So glad to hear everything off without the hitch. On top of that, though, is my north. You might have noticed on the north side, we got some roads chip sealed and fall. Next phase is paint, which will be coming very shortly.
Can you go over the fogging portion of it?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate this year, and because of the change in the CIP plan, we kind of put together in 2020. This is sort of the first year that we were able to have enough in that CIP plan from a budget standpoint to do a fog, which is essentially an oil seal on top of a chip. So you'll notice a lot of our roads, we use blue chip, 1/4 to 3/8 rock. And it's a cold oil that goes down and then the rock adheres to that over the top. And that's generally what we do. It's one of the lowest forms of maintenance, but we were able to do that fog this year, which is an oil sealed in over the top. So you got it from both sides. So you get a black road and then you just get more durability. It's just extra
So it just
binder.
binds the rock to the road better.
Wow. Absolutely.
Good
So
deal.
with the current CIP plan and some of the things that we've briefly discussed moving forward with our CIP plan, we hope to do that everywhere.
Yeah. Cool.
And, we'll likely see probably 7, 8 years of a maintenance out of that maintenance path.
How long do you expect before that road will be run in where it seems like it's relatively flat again? I know it's always really jagged and rough when it's first put down, but does it usually run down pretty good?
Yeah, it really does. Snowfalls will help.
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's flatter before that happens.
Yeah. Snowfalls will help, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, you look at it today and then several weeks and watch the transition over the next 5 to 7 years even. And you'll see it go smooth and then you'll see again, then back to the deterioration of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
On top of that, we installed another 9,000 pounds of hot asphalt into cracks and potholes. In the month of August, sign replacement management annual order was placed. It's like everything else, it's tough to get signs as well. So at a minimum, our sign plan will continue for this fiscal year. Even if we have to get the posts in the ground before it freezes, if the signs don't show up till December, the posts will be in the ground and be ready to assemble appropriately.
And I appreciate the sweeping that you did on the Wednesday before the big weekend too, so.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We again, yeah, that 2 weeks we're cutting miles, roughly 7 to 13 miles a ditch. We're street sweeping. We're just trying to make sure that everything's really shiny.
Yeah.
And just like this morning, in efforts with the parade and the residents that were, where there were impacts to the boulevard, garbage, trash, things like that, backpack blowers, and other round sweeping.
We put a blanket over the storm drain,
Oh,
so the
that's
candy
perfect.
wouldn't go in it.
That's perfect.
Of course, the kids love that.
Oh, yeah. That's a
No-
good idea.
Nothing lost.
That's a good idea. We actually have some blockers, so maybe in the future we'll actually install
That's a
something.
good idea.
Yeah. Yep, just as you mentioned, street sweeping, ditch mowing, all of those things occurred in August on top of some more right-of-way clearing and things like that. From the park side, I think everybody really enjoyed that new pedestrian ramp that was installed back there. On that, the Trails and Parks group, we got to work together, their funding through Group Fest and things like that ultimately paid for this.
Cool.
Really developing sort of a renewed and reinvigorated relationship with that group and are talking about what the future holds for that group and in partnership with the Village of Osceola.
Cool.
With their donation dollars and ideas on top of our planning and our dollars, whether it be CIP or from a maintenance standpoint. We're really starting to delve into
Where's that park at?
the future of our parks and rec.
Oh, yeah.
Also happy to install new Cascade Pole signs on behalf of Main Street, Osceola High School. Maybe.
Yeah, that looked nice.
Yeah, what a great sign. Really nice. Extra heavy, extra durable. We won't have to worry about 50 knot winds taking that down. We look forward to putting
Yeah,
out
we-
a solar light, so we'll be able to see that at night as well. So
Can we chat a little bit about that sign now that we're covering it? That's Parkland, right? Not B1, is that right?
It replaced, basically an exact replica of what was there, so
Right.
it's just like a replacement of what was there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know why I'm asking. There were a couple of residents that brought
Yeah.
up the design of it. And
It's the same sign, just made more durable. I guess it would fall kind of the same as a replacement of something.
any reason why it wouldn't have gone through HBC, other than that's just because it's a replacement?
Oh,
I think that might, I think that would be something we'd want to discuss because it's not really an agenda item,
Yeah.
kind of, but
It was just brought up. I was looking for additional information so that we can share it with the public, so.
From a Main Street and public works standpoint, I mean, we looked at estimated costs from a couple of people over the last 3 years. I mean, we've had a blank spot in that space.
Yeah.
Estimates were in the $5,000 plus range. So to have an entity come forward and put something like this together at zero cost outside of public works labor, seems like a great
Yeah,
asset.
I think it looks great. It's a great sign.
On top of that, we're excited to meet with MSA, myself and Devin, to discuss, like a sort of a future parks plan, whether or not that moves forward yet for funding purposes. We're not sure, but it was invigorating to talk about a comprehensive plan for our parks.
Yeah.
And a real plan for 13 public spaces, 160 plus acres. So we look forward to hopefully trying the funding to put something like that together.
Yeah.
Doing something dynamic for the Cascade Falls areas to kick it off. Now, washing buildings and stock codes for the removal of the village-owned house on Ridge Road, the one that recently burned. From the building and maintenance standpoint, August also brought a deep dive just into our budget. Respectfully made recommendations from our maintenance and operating budget, and then was also able to provide a CIP on somewhere around 25 plus pieces of equipment, appropriate turnover and the numbers that it would cost to replace on a decent schedule. So
Yeah.
hopefully look forward to future talks.
Yeah, we want to do that.
All right,
Make it routine.
absolutely. That would be great. Any other questions?
I asked one of the other public works employees over the weekend how the truck's been working. It sounds like there might be some issues with some smoking going on.
It is consuming a little while. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to having that reviewed, actually, phone call today.
Okay.
But, yeah, outside of that, it's still performing.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a warranty repair anyway, but
Good. Like the sound of that.
Me too.
Warranty repair, free.
Yep. Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, utilities.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you.
yeah, there he
Rick.
is.
Well, this last month here, our lead and copper sampling is completed. All tests are in. We're waiting on one. I had to find a new sample site after we launched one. Certain criteria had to meet, so phone calls were made. Called Deb. But Deb wasn't able
I
to do
didn't
it for us. We
qualify.
had to go back to the drawing board on that one. So nothing to note there, which is what you want when you're sampling. Nothing notable.
I was real happy to hear it.
Yep. So we're working on the required customer notification on that, and that all has to be done by the end of the month. Water tower engineer, we've scheduled our annual engineering inspection of the coating of that tank, the interior coating, to take place on Monday, the 18th. It's very important to stay on top of that very expensive coating on the inside. If there's anything that needs to be done, it can be identified, put into a plan, worked up, and then put into motion. So we're working on the internet connection at the wastewater plant. We're exhausting all options down there with the end of the line. We're working off of a 7 meg download speed and a 0.3 upload speed, which is almost impossible to run our ArcMap and then run a workhorse, VFR VPN into a workhorse. If you can imagine having 3 people onto ArcMap at the same time, it knocks down quite a bit. So we may have come to a solution on that today, actually, after we've been just running down everything that we can. We exhausted, all the usual suspects, CenturyLink, we exhausted Lakeland Communications, we exhausted everybody. Will not come down there at their own cost. They want us to pay for coming down there.
Yeah.
So, and finally, Carrie got us switched over to FirstNet. Thank you to Carrie for doing that. That makes their cell phones completely operational. We were on Verizon before, and as you guys know, Verizon wasn't
Not so
working out
much.
for
Yes,
us.
that's for police and water too.
And Public Works. big, I know some of these things can be a really big undertaking when they don't really sound like it, and switching 6 phones over, getting them to work, all the same phone numbers, et cetera. It's a big deal, so
Yeah.
special thanks to her.
All
It's too
right.
bad they
Good
lost
job.
the community, but I mean, if you're
Yeah.
not gonna put up, if you're not gonna put up infrastructure, then we're not gonna
Terrible.
subscribe to you.
And we can't have phones that don't work.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
work in this day and age,
Especially
so,
the-
I can
Especially
talk a
the
lot about
public.
mapping, and if I can't access the map, it's not really useful.
Makes it a lot harder.
Exactly. Any other questions? Good.
No. Good seeing
To
you.
say,
Rick.
all right, before we head into the next one, I think I think the theme of tonight is just a big thank you to getting through the staff reports. Thank you to Devin, Carey, the rest of the staff down there for fielding calls that'll come in, building up to the weekend. It seems like it's just, that's the fair weekend, it's Wheels and Wings, but there's a lot of work from all of our staff and people that go into it. And there are lots of people who come into this town on that weekend. Lots of people who get out of town on that weekend. But, staff fielding phone calls, police and fire for making sure that things run smoothly. Any incidences are dealt with quickly, quietly, easily. Public works and utilities, making sure that everything below ground and above ground function and run, and things are in place where they need to be and taken down as quickly as they need to be. And, my family moved here the fair weekend 56 years ago. So it's always a big weekend around everything. And I don't know that I've seen a weekend that hasn't gone well. And it's always nice when it does. So, I mean, just a huge thank you to everyone. So with that, a big thank you also Chamber, Main Street, for what they do with the Harvest Bazaar and everything. And I see Wyatt here. So Wyatt's up for Chamber of Commerce and Main Street.
Good evening, everyone. Wyatt Yeager, Main Street Director, representing the Chamber at Main Street tonight. Just wanted to call out a few things from the report that was sent earlier. Last month, we welcomed 2 new members to the Chamber, so it's always exciting when we welcome one. So welcome 2 is great. Anything more than 0 is something to celebrate. So they were Tucker Hazard with Edward Jones, and then the Mental Health Task Force here of Polk County. Other things that the Chamber is excited about is the next B2B that's coming up. And then with Main Street, we've got a few things that we're excited about. Planning has begun for Dough on the Go. For those that do not know, the Dough on the Go won the Wisconsin Main Street Retail Event of the Year last year. So we're planning has begun for that, November 17th and 18th, in case you're wondering. It's a big event for us in the fall. The other thing that's kicks off this weekend is the train starts their Fall Colors Tour, and they're already sold out for Saturday. So
All right.
That's good.
that starts this weekend, and it'll run through the end of October, skipping the 3rd weekend because that's the annual pumpkin train for the family. So we're excited that the colors are changing, and our volunteers for Grow Osceola are going to start working on changing the pots over from the beautiful flowers to more fall season appropriate designs. And just want to call out and thank Dan Perry and his students from the high school for their hard work on that sign. Just to address what had been mentioned before, pictures were taken of the old sign, and all care and respect and honor was taken to match the design as closely as possible to what was there before. And I want to thank Todd and his staff for getting it up there. We are a Wisconsin Main Street community, one of 35. We are the only one with a waterfall on our Main Street. Oftentimes, I think it's taken for granted that we have Cascade Falls here, when really it's something to be celebrated. We turn 180 years old next May 14th. So that waterfall has been here, and that's the reason we're here. And I think sometimes we forget that it can be a resource for the community that people come and visit. Another thing that we're working with Madison and the WEDC on is getting geofencing numbers. So since we're a Main Street community at no cost to us, they've set up a geofence around the historic downtown. And so they are running reports. I've asked for reports for the end of August to give us an idea of how many people have actually come to town. So we get that broken down in 2 ways: unique visitors and then visits to downtown. So they're 2 separate numbers. So I'll be sharing a report hopefully next month to let everybody know what the summer looked like, and we can compare to past years. So
Super.
lots of
That's
things
nice.
that are moving forward. We're also working with businesses downtown. Google is doing some small business training, so that's just something, since we're a Main Street community, at no cost to them, they can sign up for those. It was a virtual, just trying to really utilize and maximize our relationship. So,
Okay.
any
Fantastic.
questions?
It's a great report.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Exciting.
All right, we will move on to other business, discussion and possible action on. A is Tree City / Arbor Day proclamation.
Time's up for the next two.
Sounds good.
I'll have to read that.
Perhaps I can stay. Yeah, this is a request. I know everybody's probably thinking at this time, it's September, Arbor Day is in April. However, I have sort of what I would like to hope is a valid excuse. We came off a hard winter. We planted 53 trees, as you know, last year. We nurtured them all summer throughout this drought. At times, not including watering trees, we're spending upwards to $180 3 times a week in wages, just in watering plants and flowers and things of that nature. So to keep the 53 trees alive, especially fighting the aphids and the Japanese beetle infestation, as I mentioned a few months ago, we took all we had. And to date, those 53 trees are still doing good. However, I always find the best time of year to plant trees is September. You get them in the ground, they begin to get rooted, they go dormant, and they're ready to come alive in the spring with the spring rains. So, and that's the same thing we did with 53 trees last year. Put them in September, and we were successful. So I look forward to on Wednesday, September 27th, 1 p.m. Village Public Works is going to be planting a tree. Likely a hawthorn at this time on First Avenue. By the Aveda Salon, we did lose a maple there. And I think you're starting to see in some other areas in our downtown a few losses in the way of maples. The tops are dying out. I'm not entirely sure why. At this time, but what we do know is that almost every species at this time they're growing weaker.
Yeah.
So we've been working with the DNR, and even with what we planted in those 53 trees through that urban forestry grant, we're finding a lot more species and diversifying our canopy. So we'll look forward to planting something really great in that bulb house.
Awesome.
Super.
I'm glad it's coming up because I don't think I was here on Arbor Day, so I get to come down and help. All right, up next, we have the new proposed sidewalk cleaning route.
Is there any motion required for that tree thing or not?
I don't know if do we need to, I mean, I know in the past we've done like a kind of a declaration of some sort. I don't know if we need to do that again or I should say a proclamation, I guess we've done.
As long as we do it, we posted a public event acknowledging the event, and then of course your signature on the proclamation
Okay.
will be the final.
Okay, so do you think we need a motion on that, or is that just something that,
It's kind of an honorary motion.
yeah, I think it probably is a good idea to do.
Yeah, I'll move that the village enact a proclamation in honor of Arbor Day.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brad, a second by Neil. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, now to the new proposed sidewalk cleaning route.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of interject and kind of bring this up, that this is brought to the fact that how much overtime hours our employees had to work last year, and that we are currently short-staffed to operate what we've been doing for the past few years, which is adversely affecting our budget in terms of negative impact about going above and beyond what the call of duty is. So with that, I can leave Todd. But I asked Todd to kind of show the past that we're doing that should be public, that is actually the private entities to be doing, not the public entities to be doing.
Yeah, and with that, as we sort of discuss internally, I guess how things have gotten to this point, really. So between the 3 utility staff and 3 public works staff, nearly a combined 100 years of experience just in the village of Osceola at this time. We talk about what's happened over the course of 40 years and how we've gotten here and how we need to potentially address the current issue. And that issue, as Devin mentioned, is a lot of overtime. on a very small crew. And also sort of how we're doing some private spaces or spaces where the village code that shows clear enforcement and how that should be handled, and how we sort of have moved away over the course of 40 years. So I mean, at this point, what we're seeking, and we still have 25 spots of our own public spaces, public sidewalk, this building, the path to our parks, the water station, our pumping stations, our lift stations, and just some of our safe routes and our own sidewalk. So we already have a considerable amount of our own village-owned public spaces to maintain. But with the addition and what we've sort of consumed over the years, we've reached sort of a pinnacle that we're gonna have to start giving back.
Yeah, and our ordinance clearly states that, the onus of clearing debris off the sidewalks is on the homeowner. So it is stated in the ordinance already. We just be going, actually putting the onus back on the homeowner to remove the snow.
And that doesn't mean we're gonna deflect from downtown cleanups, but it will be the responsibility, of business owners to get the snow removed from their sidewalks. We still, in a timely manner, are going to have the downtown cleanup, which will be our full responsibility, within, after that 24 hours of that snow cessation.
Can you help me visualize from what I'm hearing, under the code, you own a business downtown. It's up to you to clear the sidewalk in front of your business. Am I understanding that correctly? That's what our code says? Correct. And so when you talk about the downtown cleanup, can you help me understand what you mean by downtown cleanup? Like, what spaces are you clearing, or does that have any interaction with clearing the sidewalk in front of businesses? Or I just want to understand what you mean by that.
So we sort of have like an internal policy of anything 2 inches or above, we're doing the full sidewalk removal, 3 blocks by roughly 5 blocks plus. And it just doesn't apply to the downtown. It's all of the sort of safe routes. I shouldn't say, we can refer to them as safe routes, but the sidewalks were put in off of safe route grants in combination with the state. So we're currently maintaining just different areas. And then at times it was, well, you're already driving by this, or you own 20 feet of public sidewalk here. Why not do the whole stretch? What it's culminated to, or no pun intended, snowballed into, is an over 12-mile route. And for instance, I mean, we could finish plowing, we're gonna have a solid 8, 10, 12 hours into plowing our streets, which is our first approach to public safety during a snowstorm. We could finish at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. But then at midnight, we're right back in our sidewalks. So we get a short break and we're here for another minimum of 6 hours at the minimum. On top of that, we could potentially get a ½ inch of snow, which really has no impact to driving. We'll have some continued salt residue on our streets. Our streets are fine, they're perfectly safe to drive, ½ inch. However, we'd have to send someone in on a Saturday, Sunday to take care of all those public spaces. And we're still gonna take care of our own public spaces. We're just gonna reduce that time by half. By half, yeah.
So as I read the code, the expectation here is that owners will, with respect to sidewalks, will move that snow to the street, and then the village clears the street.
Correct.
Yep.
So we just dump it in the street?
Yeah. It actually specifically says it in the code. It says you're not allowed to put it in the street, but except sidewalks. So you clear your sidewalk to the street, and then they plow the street. So they wait more than 24 hours because you need to get it cleared within 24 hours of the cessation of the event, and then the village will come by afterwards and clear the street.
Yeah, absolutely correct. That gives the crew a proper break.
And that's
Obviously,
everywhere. I mean,
driveways
that's
can exempt
Cascade,
from
all
that,
homeowners
right?
Cascade. Well, that's a state highway, so it's different, but yeah.
And still we maintain, they maintain the drive lanes, we
Yeah.
maintain the rest, and there's been a lot of challenges, even, sometimes with the community when you're doing a certain stretch on Seminole or County Road M on, say, the south side, but the homeowners are expected to take part of theirs, on the north side, or the north side.
I think the important distinction to remember here is that, we put a referendum on the ballot for our last election. Okay, the residents have told us that that's a no-go at this point. Great. So we're gonna continue to balance our budget. And one of the things that we do to balance our budget, if we don't have the funds necessary to balance the budget, then we'll pull back services. And this is one of the ways that that gets done. You know, we're doing a lot of work for free for some residents of the village that, you know, we're just happy to have that done on their behalf. And this is gonna change the tone of that a little bit. So I think we'll need to be prepared to hear from some of the residents that are gonna be like, well, wait a minute, you've done this as long as I can remember, and now you're not going to anymore. I'm like, well, yeah, we need to divert our resources to the areas that they have to be diverted.
Right, but we're also, have to address the $13,347.19
Of overtime. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's 290 hours.
I think less than the the referendum part is, in my eyes, it's more that we are a town of 2,500 or so people, and we continue to do services like we were when a million years ago when I was a kid, when we were half the size at 1,200.
Exactly.
And we just simply don't have the manpower to continue to do that. And it's unfortunate because it is, you know, there are some very nice things that our public works have done. It's just that the ability to continue on doing that as we continue to grow just is not manageable and maintainable.
Yeah, I think it's important to reset the bar. You know,
Yeah.
the expectation is that you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, not over and above what you're supposed to do. It's great that we were able to achieve that to date, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to be able to do that. And last winter's was what revealed that. I mean,
It certainly
that
can help.
absolutely laid bare the fact that we can't continue to maintain the level of service that was being pushed out there, which was over and above what the code actually says is supposed to happen. So,
And sleeping in the vehicles.
yeah, I mean, exhaustion to the
Right.
point of falling asleep in a vehicle. Exactly. Yeah. So,
So,
and
so Todd, do you have like a mapping of the new mapping or something that we'll be able to present sort of, and Wyatt, I'm gonna kind of lean on you a little bit to help with like some of the getting the message across with downtown retail kind of everything.
Yep, Todd's already formulated that map for us. It's information that we have available. And we just want to see where it's taken off with Village Board before all that went live. We also wanted to make sure that we inform the people that have been on these past few years too of the change that's going to occur.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to chime in with two questions. Kind of one, I don't know if you have any idea of what that informing will look like and if it will explain. I think I'm in agreement with everything that was said here, that like the ordinance expects you to do this. We've been happy that we've been able to do it in the past. We can't anymore. You know, this is the situation. And then also, what's the enforcement process
that
look
was
like?
my next question.
Like are you dependent on a public complaint and then you go look and it looks like if you don't do it, we will do it and then we will bill you. And so I just wanted to understand how you're planning to, because I expect there might be some hard moments with folks when they're like, oh, that letter was real and I'm being billed now, you know, what the heck?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that portion could equally consume the amount of time that we're doing currently. The follow-up, we'll use the word policing, but really that's what it is,
Enforcement.
identifying, enforcing, and then the administration side of it would be having to write up, pass it on to the village clerk to be billed appropriately. So as we continue these talks, and I look forward to presenting these maps and some other things to the Public Works Committee meeting this month, and how potential contracted services may play a role where our contractor, it would be more of a call to a contractor to remove that snow of violators. And then, of course, then we'll have, I guess what we'll do is we'll take care of out of the we'll have to identify, but it will take out us running out with our equipment for a handful of things, and then we'll still have to take care of the building portion.
So is the enforcement is still predicated on Public Works receiving a complaint? Is that right?
Unfortunately, staffing, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's just where we're at
I don't have
this
a problem
time.
with that. I just wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
understood like how you would,
With the
it would
process.
come to be that someone
Yeah,
gets a bill.
And Todd and I've had that conversation about the implementation and what the hours should be like implementation implementing something like, well, just what we're supposed to be implementing.
Yeah.
And
And I
we do realize that there's a chance that there could be office hours eaten up by this too.
Yeah, and I think that's just, in my mind, I was thinking, the notice and everything, it's not, I appreciate the history, because it's not like we made a policy decision that we were gonna do this and now we're revoking it, it's just like incremental little
Yeah.
add-on kind of an informal thing, and so I think making sure that that reality is reflected in that communication, so that it's clear that like we were being nice and we're moving in this direction and this is what that means for you. Just, I think, to make sure that it's as clearly communicated as possible what's going on.
No, absolutely. And I did my due diligence. I reached out to other communities with a thriving downtown, historic downtown on, state trunks or large county roads. And certainly not services they're providing that in any manner. And especially, oftentimes they'll let things build up after 6 snowfalls and then do a downtown removal. We're still contributing that full downtown snow removal 24 hours after the snow cessation and things are, in the street. So I'm going to continue that cleanliness of our downtown and beyond.
I don't know that there's any board action necessary
No.
regarding this.
This was a discussion and
As far as notification, is the thinking to put something, at least a start in like the upcoming newsletter that goes out beginning of next month, or using that system even as a supplemental to put a map out there or something, so that, because you could fill the entire newsletter with just this. So I don't know. And I don't, having the discussion with, might be more pertinent to have it a little bit closer rather than the first week of October, a little closer to snowfall time for people to understand it. So,
First of October could be close.
yeah, well, yeah.
It had snow in the middle of October.
Yeah.
I think, once we get our bearings on this, my concern is to make sure that we have the consistency and stay consistent.
Yes.
People don't mind that, so we don't, and that keeps us running straight, so we don't wave off to one side or the other, but I think we have something here.
Awesome. Thank you for all of the work on getting that together.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the heads up, because we
Yeah.
want to hear about it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Todd.
All right, next we have ordinance number 2023-06 to amend chapter 59 to add consent agenda.
Yeah, we had our discussion last month to put this on the agenda for a consent agenda for our agenda. I'm using that word a lot. But basically just to get rid of some of the items that we can just clean in one motion.
And I'm all for this. This will really streamline meetings. It's gonna strip at least 15 to 30 minutes off every meeting. So,
And this will go with it, has to be out here one more month, is that?
No,
I'm reading
it'll be
right
on the
here.
next. It'll be
On the next. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And basically,
Okay, so-
any item that we deem that would be
Okay.
no discussion. So to tell you how it works, it'd be any item that we feel there be no discussion on or should pass, or would pass 7-0 can be added to consent agenda. If there's ever an item that you feel needs to be pulled off, when you make the motion to approve the agenda, you can
That's where
remove
you
the item,
discuss it.
you can remove the item from the consent agenda there. Just a little rubber rules there.
So your one last chance to pull any item out that you think you
Yeah,
might
would be
want to
right
have an
there, yeah.
individual vote on can be done at the time that the consent agenda is considered at the beginning of the meeting.
Makes sense.
I
like
That's
it.
great. And I move that we adopt this ordinance.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Brad, a second by Van. Question or comments on the motion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have appointment of Jennifer Lutz to the Ethics Committee for a 3-year term ending 2026.
I'm going to recuse myself from this point.
Good idea.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Jennifer Lutz to the Ethics Committee.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Bruce, a second by Bill. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0 with one recuse. Next, we have appointment of Josiah Williams to the Room Tax Commission for a 3-year term ending 2026.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brad, a second by Arvid. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, website provider.
Last week at the admin finance meeting, we had a discussion for switching our website provider. The cost of Catalyst, formerly of GovOffice, has increased by 100%. So we're looking at alternatives to switch to. Here you put this together of other places that might be best for us for hosting our site. Her recommendation was to go with Bitworks and using their, what's that platform called again? WordPress for our new village website. There's a higher upfront cost, but lower maintenance cost throughout the year and throughout the years as we maintain this website. And also we'll be using our IT contract service for our help for the website too. It is gonna be a nice switch as our current interface is really dated in terms of updating and features that we have on our website too. And those are not going to change in the new update through Catalyst. So I feel this can provide us a better website and with more features for our citizens.
I'll make a motion that we approve Bitworks as our website provider.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Van, a second by Bill. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have creation of ordinance for street and stormwater utility discussion.
So once again, no motion will be needed on this one. Just more or less seeking approval to continue down the path for these. As you currently know, we are having a hard time finding funding to do street projects and keeping our streets up into proper condition. And also, we currently have no wastewater, not wastewater, but we have no storm sewer utility either, which relies on curb gutter and all of our storm and the drainage eventually when it gets to the river, making sure that's all up to date too. With this will allow us to create a utility to create extra funds in these areas so we can do the projects that we have in our CIP and projects throughout the community. Most larger cities, especially river towns, already have a storm sewer utility in place. The one that is interesting is a transportation utility that I'm looking at for road maintenance. There's about 10 in the state so far that have it. That one's gonna require much more background work. What that would do is all these would be utilities, which means they'd be tacked onto your utility bills. And they're based, and like the street one would be based on the zoning of your property, whether it's residential, commercial. That's what's gonna be tied to the price for the utility. As we all know, we're currently struggling with some budgetary issues. This would relieve some of that out of the levy and allowing us to keep maintenance and keep it up to what we need, our quality of roads that we want and desire for it. So I'll take any questions, comments, concerns about this, or I'm just kind of making sure that I have to go ahead before I spend more of my own time on these type of projects. The storm sewer one can be created real quickly, probably in a few months. The transportation or road would probably take 6 to 8 months.
And I'm assuming the storm sewer utility is not going to be a consideration for the 24 budget, is that right?
We have currently budgeted about $4,500 only $4,500 a year for that. So that would be something that we'd have to talk about, yes.
So as far as budgetary relief, we're not gonna see any budgetary relief for the 24 budget with the creation of this utility. It's
Potentially
25
not, yeah.
The only concern I have with it is it's going to be viewed as a tax increase by everybody. And so there's a very strong amount of work that's going to need to be done on the narrative. So.
I could chime in to say that too. I think to the point that we were talking about earlier, a referendum was put forward. It was defeated quite readily. And I worry that it looks a bit like an end run around that, though I'm sensitive as well to the budget position that we're in and the fact that it's difficult. But I think to the point about snow removal that we just had is you made a decision. We asked you, you made a decision, and we're now operating within the confines of that decision, and this is what that means for you. And if you don't like it, then you can tell us that you want us to ask you for that decision again. And I guess that I have a little heartburn around, I think, what would be perceived as an end run around that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little queasy at that idea. And I think too, it weakens our own argument when it comes time to a budget discussion, when we don't have funds available to do the things that people want us to do, that we're actively considering kind of another avenue to get at those funds.
The creation of these kind of entities require hiring additional staff.
At this time, no, it would not. It would just, everything's getting paid through the utility bill, so it'd just be money in and moving into the proper accounts.
Yeah, and the real insidious thing about this is these are things that are easy to push out further because you don't see the impact of it immediately. So yes, it might be viewed as an end around to a failed referendum, but if you look at some of the curbs and gutters and storm drains we have around town, they are pathetic. And if we ever got a really heavy rain, we'd drown half this town because everything would back up and the water would come over the curb or non-existent curb, and you'd be faced with a flooded yard or a flooded house. So it's, if you don't get the big rain, you never see the problem.
And I think another issue here is that it's up to staff and the board to try to figure out avenues to think about being proactive on the streets, the curbs, the gutters, the infrastructure. That's our job, is to protect that. The citizens expect that. I don't expect my vehicle to go into a hole, 2-bedroom, 3-bath size hole after a rain, or all these orange cones they put out, because that's telling me there's going to be problems in the future, and we know that's coming. A lot of us have walked the streets, and you can see things are happening underground, and those things. So if we don't have the money in the budget, it's not that we're creating and trying to pull money out of air. I don't think anybody's trying to do that. I think what we're trying to do is figure out a way to all of a sudden, the curb and gutter, we can make that a utility. Just like fire hydrants and other entities. I don't think it's extra tax. We got to have an outlay account. So I don't know. People are going to talk about that, but I think it's our obligation. We're obligated.
We got to get the message out there.
Yeah, and let them know. We're going to have to face some hard facts, and we're going to have to talk about those ugly things that we need to deal with.
And a lot of times, the transportation or wheel or road utility is created in lieu of doing special assessments. So
Right.
the whole village is paying for the special assessment, rather than, like, say we do a whole section of road, everyone in that road gets a special assessment for $5,000 to $15,000. That would get rid of that. We never have to go down that avenue. This will allow us to do street projects without doing special assessments, in theory.
I would think that right now it's in the discussion and look into kind of phase. It's not in an implement phase. I think it would be good for us to be, to take the time to be looking into that, and it's working at a perfect time, kind of going hand in hand with the budgeting process right now, so we can actually see, as we work for our budgeting process, we will see where our deficiencies are, and this is a way that may be able to fill into deficiency, or maybe won't be needed to fill into deficiency. So my recommendation or my thought would be yes, continue investigating it to make sure that it would fit everything that we would need here, but to look at it hand in hand with the budget as we're working on that, to make sure that we aren't overdoing something or underdoing something.
Yeah, and I think he said, Devin, $4,500 is what tentatively was, or what was in the budget last year for stormwater.
Yeah, and Tom can attest this too, that they haven't had the budget to do any smoke testing on it, any cameraing of it, so it's hard to tell the condition of what some of
Yeah.
our
And how many
stores-
miles of road do we have in the village? Just round numbers. I don't need
Like roughly 13 miles of storm sewer, countless basins.
13 miles, and we think 4,500 is.
That's correct.
That's what I mean. It doesn't sound like a reasonable number to me.
It's roughly enough to fix one basin every year. Not to mention we have 6 outfalls to our river. So we have this, and as Rick went to, the contracted cleaning service where he divided the village into, quarters. And that contracted service came in and did a portion. Ours has never been cleaned.
Yeah.
They've never been cambered.
We have no idea what's down there.
Yeah, and on top of that, this funding would be, would help in the process of when we do reconstruct roads. The 7th Avenue District Summit, even to the north side of town, we just have some older solutions to stormwater issues. That means sort of the rain gardens that you might see towards the school district and things like that. Heavily outdated, and when that reconstruction time comes, those funds could help there, but more importantly, to start us off on a real maintenance plan.
Yeah.
We could spend up to about 20 to 30,000 annually on a cleaning contract, cleaning, televising, smoke testing contract right off the bat.
Which again, gets us back to a more professional way to run the place. So we have a good idea and a solid idea of what we're working with and when we need to replace something before it becomes a disaster that happens to us.
Here's a good one. Could you imagine what it's gonna cost to do 2nd Avenue from the top of the hill down to the river? If that.
I think we're kind of veering off a
Yeah,
little bit
sorry.
of what the
So,
discussion
But I mean,
actually
That's
is.
something we have to think about.
Right, but I think
you know.
right now the discussion is not about like
Yeah.
specific street
Yeah, I'm with
pieces,
you.
it's the,
Keep pursuing it.
Yep.
And I think she's right. I think it needs to be paired with the budget discussion.
Yeah.
But it's also important to just restate that there are only so many ways to skin a cat from a budgetary standpoint.
Yep.
This is an option. Once you exercise it, that's it. Now you're working with what you've got when you've exercised that option.
Yeah, I'll go back to that. It's very common for stormwater utilities. The transportation road, whatever you want to call it, that one has been it's more of a newer idea.
Yeah.
But the stormwater one to me is one that we really should be going after for sure.
I like the idea too of all these kind of fun stats of miles of things we have on our new website.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, it is kind of fun whenever, Todd will mention these type of things, the number of miles that they plow, how many parks we have, things like that. And then, like Paul, like I've said to you before too, things like what type of mutual things that you guys use with what we own, what other fire departments own and everything, and how we collaborate and everything. These are some things that I think, we talk about getting information out to the community, and the new website is a fantastic way to do that, to add pieces in like this to say, here's why.
Yeah.
Clean out a basin, how many yards of material come out of that basin when you clean it out,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
Gross.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
Thanks for the discussion. This is something that staff we're really looking at and allow us to continue on this path too.
You need a,
Nope, no action, I think,
Okay.
on that one. That was
Go
just,
for
yeah. All right, next up, we have TID and purchase agreement, Precision Steel.
I'm actually going to invite Merle Keppel up here to talk and introduce the product a little bit.
Thanks for sitting for
You
the
call
last
me,
hour.
5 times a week, so it's your turn to talk in front of these people. Just a little introduction of what the overall site's going to be and what the company's going to be.
Well, my name is Merle Keppel. I'm here on behalf of my son Aaron, who is creating this or trying to create this facility, which is a manufacturing facility of stainless steel. He also owns 2 other facilities, one in Caledonia, Minnesota, and another one in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where he's at tonight. Not able to make it here, but yeah, we've been going back and forth with Devin here as far as I call it the TIF or TID agreement and the purchase agreement itself, and on that property up there north of the plastic company. And I think we've got pretty much all the everything ironed out on both the TID and the purchase agreement, and ready to close on those. And hopefully, the only contingency there is that easement agreement with the plastic company on the, we need to get that signed as far as.
Yeah, so tonight I would recommend that you approve both the purchase and the TID agreement, contingent on the utility easement being agreed to with Manufactured Plastics. I have a meeting with them on Friday to discuss it, to iron out the final details. They're sending me a map tomorrow. Us and them have gone back and forth about what parcel of land we're using for their utility easement. The reason we need the utility easement is when Manufactured Plastics bought additional land from the village, I don't know how many years ago, the water and sewer stuff was actually in their land. So the land that they're trying to buy currently has no water and sewer stuff into it. So we need to create a utility easement to allow them to get utilities without digging into the street.
I don't know who, this is, sorry to interrupt, I don't know who was on the committee for, I'm actually on that committee over in Cameron, Wisconsin. But, you know, when it comes for variances and so forth, the plastic company come to the village and ask for some additional property because they're thinking about possibly expanding. And so the what's that committee called?
The planning commission.
Yeah, the planning commission. So they evidently come in front of the planning commission, wanting some additional real estate. And they say, yeah, we can do that, but it needs to be studied. The village laterals was on the property that got sold to the plastic company. And
that's why we're paying $5,000 from the TID to reimburse ourselves for the easement that would be transferred to Precision Steel. So that's already been agreed upon earlier this year.
That's gonna essentially realign.
Well, it gives them access to their property.
Okay.
it's not a real good access either, because what they're trying to do is to come off the laterals, which got Todd got them staked out for where the laterals were, and I know I measured before the meeting here. They're 105 feet south of the lot line down to the laterals to the south. So I mean, we've got a 105-foot trench that we've got to come out from hooking up the lateral, make a long swing with the sewer and water pipe, supposedly head north. And that's, I mean,
It's gonna be like 8-9 feet deep.
That'd be a good trench.
Yeah, so that's a thing we'll work with. I think Angela might have some ideas too, but for tonight, that's something that we just need passed is the TID and the purchase agreement contingent on that easement being finalized.
that's correct. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to dwell on that, but I mean, you know, the foresight, yeah.
Well, and who knows, I mean, how many, it's before my time, so it's at least a decade ago
Yeah.
that happened.
Plan it first.
Yeah, and it's like a decade or more ago. so.
Fortunately, this is the first time we found property lines not where we thought they were.
Or the laterals, but anyway.
Yeah.
Or the stuff.
I'd appreciate it. I'm originally from Osceola, graduated from Osceola. So what time did you move here? I graduated from school in '65 from Osceola.
67.
Okay.
You're off the hook.
We live in, my family lives in the Stewart house. I grew up,
Oh,
so-
okay. Yeah. Okay. I was out here on M and double M. Just so born and raised, or I wasn't born there, but raised on a farm.
So we'll try to get it squared away.
Please do.
Yeah.
I wanna get my son's feet back in he was born in Osceola too, by the way.
Well, we want you back, so, you know.
Yeah, so yeah, that's all we're asking tonight is get that done so I can go ahead and finish the other part that I need
Sorry,
to.
then I want to
That's
bug
okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
a
Merle.
little extra income.
So, what are the highlights of the TID agreement?
The TID agreement basically is that we're giving them $130,000 over the course of whatever, it breaks down to about 12 or 13 years of payback,
Okay.
to get them back. So we'll get like 4 or 5 captures on that, for our own TID that we can use then to reimburse ourselves that.
Okay.
So on the plus side, we still get some extra captures on the backside of it because it is a smaller amount
Yeah.
that we get paid over a shorter amount of time. So it's 130, which is including the purchase sale, the $30,000 that we agreed to,
Mhm.
and then the utility, some of the utility work that they're doing too. So that's what the TID is going towards.
And they're gonna build a factory building there?
Yeah, they're gonna build a warehouse type building, basically a pole shed that it's about, was it 12,000 square feet?
12,000 square feet, it's not a Polish, it's a ladder frame construction.
Okay. And the approximate value is,
It's gonna be between $800 to $1 million in taxable value.
okay, cool.
Okay.
Not to be a stickler, do we have exhibits C and D,
Which one of those again?
the development plans and specifications and the projections themselves?
The projections we've seen all summer long within the TID, within the Baird. The Baird.
They were in the previous ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, the development specification, plan specifications would just be the plan that you submitted, which had not been drawn yet. That we're agreeing that it's gonna be a $800 to $1 million building. In the development agreement too, not the development, the TID agreement, it says that completion must be completed by a certain date. If it's not, then that's in breach of the TID agreement too. So there are safeguards. Once again, it's pay as you go, not upfront.
Pay go, yeah.
So all the onus is on the developer, not the city. So if they don't build what they're saying, they're not getting their money. So that is all the safeguards you have for a usual TID agreement. And some of these, a lot of times the exhibits are empty until the thing is completed because we frankly don't know what we're going to get, making sure that we have that in done. But I'll make sure that the exhibits are in there before everything is signed and maybe our classifications what we want.
This is the same District 2, District 3?
This is the District 3 that we talked about. This is what we're expanding the TID District for.
Yeah.
What's this property and the one property that we can't sell with the weird shape. Weird shape.
For engineering plans, it's like $12,000 to $13,000 to get engineering plans drawn up, and I certainly don't want to do that until we get the
Got it.
proposal on the real estate.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's right. I forgot we expanded the TID for this very reason.
Yeah.
So we've already
Yeah.
done the preliminary work on this, so.
Yeah. So we need a motion to approve the TID
The
agreement?
TIF,
The
The
TIF
TID.
and the purchase agreement.
and then the
The
purchase,
yeah, both
the
of those.
purchase agreement contingent on the easement.
Sounds like you just made it.
I'll move that we approve the TIF as well as the purchase agreement contingent on the utility easement.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Brad, a second by Bruce. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Luck and
Thank
build.
you. Yeah. All right, next we have land sale of village parcel between 165-00198-000 and 165-00198-000. Those are the same number. Should they be different numbers?
What they?
They're the same number.
No, 193 and 198.
No, they're different.
165-001.
It must be.
Yeah, 193 and 188.
I was like, I made
You
sure.
read mine.
Mine says the same.
Mine says
No,
the same.
on
with
the,
the
on the agenda, it's wrong.
on the
Oh,
agenda.
the front agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like reading my note. I'm like,
Okay.
I got it right
So
on
it's-
mine.
Okay, so-
190 first one's 193.
193.
The other
Okay.
one's 198.
The
Okay.
full body
Got
detail
it.
is accurate.
Okay.
Got it.
I haven't read it. I'm like, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
So at the regular September planning commission meeting, the planning committee made a motion to sell this parcel of land that's highlighted in the map
Yep.
to both families for $1 each per family. They also added a condition that they pay all recording and transfer fees, all legal recording and transfer fees.
And to remove the trees.
Well,
No, that's their problem.
that's their problem. That's why they're buying for $1 each.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Johnson's Tree and Landscaping quote, that was just to show that it really doesn't matter that we give it to them for $1 because it's gonna cost that much to clear it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, or in case you said, no, we want to keep this, my next thing was gonna say,
Then we have to pay this. to-
So,
Yeah.
my only question is how did this land
It-
get
it-
locked like this?
it looks like it's a former alley that was never vacated.
Oh,
So eons ago, they changed the lots around and forgot that little piece.
Because if you look, it looks like there's a
I see
alley
that.
entrance in there.
Yeah,
It
I
looks
see
like
that
it's just never
now.
vacated.
okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the sale for $2
$2.
on the affected properties.
And then do you want the same condition as
And
the?
the same conditions as the planning commission, that they take care of all the title and taxes and all that garbage.
And I just want to say that's standard practice in
Yeah.
the village that almost, I should say, in all land transactions, it has been the
The buyer
The buyer
always
has
handles
paid the
the
fees.
recorder fees, yeah.
Legal recording and transfer fees.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Bruce, a second by Bill. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
See how easy it is to buy land from the village?
more
All
cheap,
right.
so.
Yeah.
Merle and I have been doing this for
And cheap.
So next up, we have budget process review.
Yes, so I was kind of asked to give a quick timeline of the budget process and how we proceed with the budget within the village. I'd like to know that, for people who are not aware of how the budget process, it basically is a 6-month-long process. It's not something we just, grab a dartboard and start throwing numbers on in November. There's a lot of planning that takes place, a lot of work behind the scenes that goes unnoticed, and it may look like things are easy to figure out, but that's just, we hope it looks that way when it's finally turned over to the public. So in July, we hand out budget documents to department heads, and they give us kind of, we give them parameters to stay within. And if there's any items that they deem necessities, please add it there. Because at that point, I want to know what are your necessities? We can't call it a wish list here because we don't have the funds for a wish list. So we call it, what are the necessities that you need, or what are something you're looking forward to in 24 that you might need to add? By the end of July or early August, we try to sit down and talk to department heads and enter their budget requests into the budget documents themselves as we start looking over them. As we do that, I shouldn't say staff, Tanya has been entering expenditure amounts given to us by the department heads. And then August, we also start entering in some of our revenues that we are projecting for the next year. Then come September, we are currently looking, as right now, Tanya and I are meeting tomorrow to look over our expenditures to see areas that might be too high or where we might need some wiggling room or increase certain areas if need be too. Keep in mind, we're looking at actuals from 2023 compared to what we budgeted for them to make sure we're on track and gonna hit the marks where we budgeted last year. So sometimes we can see areas where we're grossly over or grossly under and figure out if it was a one-off or if this is a yearly thing we're under budgeting or over budgeting for. Also in September, we do our levy limit worksheet for the state. This trickles into October, and this shows us how much we're actually going to receive allowable increase to our levy. At this time, we do not know that number, so I can't give it to you what our increase is going to be. Going into 2024, we do know though that there was an increase to our shared revenue from the state. However, we also lose out on our budgetary constraint item as we went over the 10% last year, so we lose $30,000 from that. We're also going to see a slight increase too from the closure of TID. So there's going to be a slight revenue increase for us. Come October, I'm hoping to set up a preliminary budget discussion or workshop meeting with the village board to kind of present where we're at. At this time, any workshop or public meetings are always open to the public, so they can see what we're looking at and where items are going, and listen to the questions that the board might have about the budget items too. From that meeting, in October, November, Tanny and I will be fine tuning the budget from the discussion that we received. And at that point, we should know what our revenues are going to be and what our insurance numbers are going to be, and hopefully what our pay increases or pay numbers are going to be for the next year. With that, and then come December, we approve the final budget. We approve the final budget and meeting, and that meeting's open to the public too.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, things you want to see, or is that kind of what you wanted to see in the timeline?
Well, that's good.
I think that was helpful. I think the other thing, and I've talked with Deb a little bit about this too, just I think to the point about the discussion, I think one of the three things from the discussions we've had today is about that communication piece and how I think that there might be an opportunity here for the board as an entity and the village to be very intentional about how we communicate around the budget discussion, because I think that there will be difficult or contentious things, and if we can communicate effectively around the process and around, I think this is great so that people can see when we'll be available, to talk about the budget, so that they can come and learn about the budget. And so I guess I'm curious, and I don't need to kind of move off the process agenda item, but it feels like kind of an opportune time to talk about how others might feel about that idea and whether or not, I thought about, is it possible to create a spot on the website where budget documents can live in an easily accessible place for people? So that if folks have questions, we can say, well, go to this page and everything you may ever want to know about the budget, there it is.
And I believe a quick and dirty adopted budget is printed in the paper too, right?
Yep.
Cool.
It'll go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to just kind of see, for that specific idea, is that something that's possible that we could do? Is there an opportunity for us to engage with the Sun to explain the budget in layman's terms so that folks can more readily appreciate what the situation is? Because I think, to the point about snow plowing, it's an explanation that makes sense, but we have to put in the energy to talk about it in a way where people can understand it. And I think related to that point too, and this might already happen during the workshops, but a layman's level explanation of money coming in and money going out, and this is what the budget looks like. And then not only in that meeting, but preferably in my mind, recorded and posted publicly so people can see it. So that if you want to learn more about the budget, you have the tools available to do that.
Yeah, that'd be the October workshop session for sure.
Yeah. And pertinent to that, when will this new website really be up and running? Will it be this year or next year?
I think it'll be this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it will be this
So
year.
there's a possibility we can get some of these things easily put on the website, which
Yes,
I understand is not easy to do
notes
now.
on
Yeah,
what
we
you
have
want
the
to
ability
make
to put
sure.
documents up now.
Yeah.
So.
And
I
I,
can't do that.
And-
I put stuff out there.
even on the current website, to your point about documents, like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be pretty, but burying, and it's not intentionally buried, but this useful information is on page 50 of a single board book. It's hard if you're trying to find information about the budget to know that you need to go to this meeting and scroll down to the document that you need. And I'm just thinking through ways
Well,
that we can try to make it a little
Yeah,
easier.
and to that, budget documents that make sense to a finance person are not going to make sense to the general public. So we need to be mindful of giving them the information in usable form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, line item budgeting is one of the easiest things to follow, so it shouldn't be too hard.
And again, the quick little timeline, I'm just filling your newsletter up here. So a little more newsletter right there.
What's the in and out again? Total dollars?
Or
Revenues and expenditures, like what is the total budget? Ballpark figure. 7 million, 14 million, 50
I think
million.
it's more right around 6.5
Yeah, I would
million
say
with
it's-
all the funds.
it's
General
six-
funds about
8 to 7. Cause keep in mind,
That's what I thought it was. about
That's for
six.
that's for every revenue coming out.
General
Our-
fund, I think, is 4.5.
Somewhere in that ballpark too. And I'm still remembering that, our debt levy is different than our operating levy. In Minnesota, that's all combined into one levy, so I'm trying to remember that in my head too.
I think the transparency issue is what driving that and putting all that information out there. Even though, I understand, I read all kinds of crazy emails saying, well, you can do this, but boy, look at all this. You're always gonna get that critic, but, that's basically what you're saying is that I offer them to come into the meetings and get to know and talk,
You can.
have some dialogue.
Well, you can lead the horse to water, but
Right.
at this point, what we need to do is create that water, and I think that's what the ask is
That's
that
what
we
I'm
have that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And saying you can come in and then talking about it in a way, once you're here, in a way that you, not a budget expert, can understand.
Yes.
And so I guess that's been on my mind, and I wanted to raise that here, and I guess see if everyone else was on board with it, and kind of talk about some of the ideas that have crossed my mind, and see if those things can be done to help ease that communication as much as possible.
Yeah, I share that methodology.
Yeah.
I've always been about it. And I used to pester Ben all the time when he was here
Yeah.
too. I'd be like, so this is balanced, right, Ben? Yep, it's balanced. Oh, is it out of balance? Yep, it's out of balance by 80,000. Oh, so we have to find $80,000 to balance the budget.
People
Okay.
take care of that,
So I think the good thing about seeing this in front of us is that it is a start to all of us being able to see it. It also is a reminder that in the next couple months,
A lot of
clear your
stuff to do.
calendar, got some meetings. I think we have found in the past that it works better to have the budget workshop separate from a board meeting because we've been here till almost midnight in the past, and I know that after a little while, my productivity goes down. So, it just will be a little bit more of a heavy lift on the calendar in the next few months to get this set and getting word out. Again, the more info we can get out there, it's there. It can be referenced if people want to see it. So I appreciate the quick turnaround. This was a really quick ask of you to put together, so I very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else on that? All right,
Good.
then we are on to licenses and permits. We have operator licenses. We have a handful of them, 2, 4, 6, 7 of them. We can either take them all together or one at a time.
I don't mind doing them all together. There's no objection.
We're gonna be consented next month anyway. So.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve all of the operator licenses as presented.
I second
We have a motion by Bruce, a second by Bill. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have conditional obstruction permit. We have one from Cascade Nutrition. This did go through the Historic Preservation Commission and received recommendation for approval to come up to us.
It was late, that's why I wasn't with the originals.
Yep. They trickle in. Carrie does a lot of work of having to bug people, so.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the conditional obstruction permit for Cascade.
We have a motion by Bruce, a second by Arvid. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have C, a kennel license for Tyler and Bree Furch.
The only thing I was asking about this though, I thought I remember reading in Village Code, weren't there supposed to be supporting letters from neighbors on a village kennel
That's not in code.
application?
They used to require that, but it
Yeah.
was never in code, and it was changed, I think, in 2020.
Okay,
They didn't have to get anything from neighbors.
okay. I mean, it's 6 dogs, so that's a pretty good amount. So.
Well, I think the neighbors probably hear it. They know they're there. And I'm sure they communicate.
They
The dogs
came
are
in, got
humans.
us all their rabies, they filled out, the application didn't have it on there. I looked everywhere, but It looked like in
Okay.
2020 is when it switched. the
I
application
do
switched.
remember us doing something with that.
Yeah.
Talking
Because
about
they're,
it.
yeah,
But
Immediately
if
on
they've-
either
Yeah.
side, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
If
But
it's
if
changed,
they
it's changed, that's
fulfilled all the
fine.
requirements, I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to approve the kennel license for the purchase at 711 North Cascade.
I'll second that.
we have a motion by Bruce, a second by Van. Question or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, and for the last time that we have to do this too, board, committee, commission, and agency reports. We have the group that you can see laid out on the agenda in front of you. So we'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brad, a second by Bruce. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have approval of vouchers payable.
Dan,
Thank you.
your time to shine. Dan.
Thanks for the patience.
Yeah, they waited a long time.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Van, a second by Bruce.
Finally, I didn't take it over.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
That was the last time, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in consent now, so.
Isn't that something?
I always go back, Rod, that was the way Rod Turner always did it too. So,
Yeah, I think I learned that. Yeah.
yeah. All right, future agenda items. Brad,
Nothing for me, thanks.
Arvid,
I would like to suggest we organize a committee to talk about the bridge closure
Ooh,
in the,
Near
Future.
future.
there you go.
I think we're at what, 26, 27, is that right? We're-
whatever it is,
MnDOT, yeah.
I don't think we'd be failing our community by,
And we
Starting
need
to
to
talk
also
about
get to, that in the chamber. involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Start garnering them resources.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
I think that's
Good
a very
idea.
good idea.
Nothing for me.
All right, Van, anything? Bill, anything? Neil, anything?
Not anything for next, but I do have 2 questions. Is this an okay time to ask them?
Sure.
Um,
We might not answer them, but
well, is there any update on the lady from the last meeting in public comment with her well concern?
I'm struggling with the DNR.
I think, I don't know if we can go
I'll talk to you
into a
afterwards.
discussion on that.
Okay.
So,
That was it.
Okay.
I've dropped the other one. But no, I'm good. Thank you.
Don't forget meeting next week.
that's what that was mine on here is a reminder of next Tuesday. We have the airport village board co-meeting on Tuesday night, 6:00 here.
Yeah, we'll be doing
Here.
a little
A little
roundtable session. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not sure on my schedule on that one, but
Okay.
it's
Is that a
with
payroll week?
Oh, that's right. You'll be in
Board of
Alaska.
Appeals 2 days later. I'm gonna
Oh,
be tapped out, so.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like it'll be a fun time.
Oh, boy,
Um,
I think it's gonna get a little.
All right.
That's
Well,
all right.
all right. Well, nothing else. I think we will adjourn at 7:38. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, let's see.
Thanks for sticking
Hang
around,
on.
Ron. Are
There
we
we
still
go.
safer?
Hold on.
Remember having an